Vlog number 6. We left off with the last one where I was talking to you about the different frequencies and learning how to attune to them. And this ability of being able to focus in on these specific frequencies and allow that energy to move through me and answer questions also translated into being able to allow the energy of someone's heart to move through me and write a letter back to them. And these became known as heart letters. And when I first started my therapy, these were the best part of the therapy, probably most people would say, because they got a letter to themselves from their own heart. And it was life-changing what it did for them, how it made them more aware of themselves and more aware of what they wanted, and created a clear pathway from where they were to where they wanted to be. These heart letters would often give the person instructions for themselves of how to overcome challenges, obstacles, how to change their perspective on certain things in order to create lasting healing and very different outcomes for their lives. And those who remained diligent with reading these heart letters every day experienced great change. So as I was learning all of this, I was learning about congruency and incongruency regarding what's coming through the heart, the energy coming from the heart, and what's coming out of someone's mouth. It was very difficult, very challenging for me, because the person I was with was almost never congruent. And at first I felt kind of crazy, because it just seems rude to tell someone when you're first learning, you don't seem very congruent. I know you're saying that, but it doesn't feel like you mean it. That's not the energy I get coming from your heart. So I was in a perpetual state of confusion, wondering if I was crazy, if I was correct, if I was just unhappy, all kinds of things. And eventually, after developing this skill more and more and more over the years, I realized I wasn't crazy at all, and started to become very desperate for something better. And at that time, we were learning some really interesting methods of transforming our lives. And what we would do is we would practice moving through our history of our life and really honing in on specific memories and writing these memories down, feeling these memories completely, feeling all of our emotions within these memories, and rewriting the whole thing. So we were identifying what we went through. We were identifying how it molded our perspective. And we were figuring out what we wanted our perspective to be. As in, how could this have played out differently to where I'm empowered in it? Or how could this have played out to where I wasn't the victim of this? And there were no limits. There was nothing that was off limits. Nothing was inappropriate in this regard to rewriting our lives. And the point was to invest ourselves so completely into these new stories that we had at least another story in addition to the one that we actually lived, moving next to the one that we lived. Okay, so we had at least two stories going on all traumatic events of our lives, so that anytime we thought about one of these traumatic events, we also thought about how we rewrote it. And so we would completely feel who we were within this new scenario. And, you know, we're really interesting and magical beings, because if you play a story long enough for yourself, it doesn't matter if it's true or false. You start to believe it. And so my perspective on all kinds of things started to change. And it wasn't that I was becoming delusional. I know what my memories actually were, but I had created new sets of memories to reference regarding who I wanted to become. And it works. Even in my classes, we have played with this a lot, and the results are mind-blowing, how it changes people's lives, and changes their lives quickly, in fact, because perspective is everything. Perspective is leading how we interact with our own lives, how we interact with people, how we interact within ourselves. And when you change the perspective, you change everything. So I wrote a story about the person I was with, and I changed him completely. I made a completely different human being in this story. And I made him perfectly compatible to me as I was becoming. I made him compatible to the person I was becoming. And I really got to know this person in my imagination. He became very real to me. And although I was still in my other relationship, I had this one going as well. And it might sound crazy, but I believe it helped me survive all of that back then. And then one day, I heard the name of a person. And when I heard his name, it felt like fireworks went off inside my body. I had never met him. I didn't know anything about him. All I had heard was his name. And this is the beginning of the greatest love story of my life. And that'll be enough.